Dr. Sharon H. Porter, we are so grateful that you have come on the show to share your K-12 journey with our viewers and our listeners. Would you please tell us what's going on in your life and in your K-12 career right now?
Absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having me, Dr. Williams. As you mentioned, I am Dr. Sharon H. Porter. I'm an elementary principal in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. I've been in K-12 educational leadership now over 15 years.
Wow.
In education period over 30 years. So I'm just really excited about my journey in education. And I will say I've held so many positions in school districts, but principal by far is the best. Is the best. I really love it. And I, spent the last 4 years prior to that, 5 years, I was a leadership development coach where I was working with new principals and new assistant principals in my school district. And 4 years ago, I decided to come back to the schoolhouse. And so I'm very excited that I'm doing that. But we are, ready to kick off the 22-23 school year.
Okay.
And ready to make new memories.
That's awesome. So when do y'all start school?
We start school August 29th for our students. August 29th is the first day of school. Yes.
That's great. That's really good. So how many students are in your elementary school?
So right now we have about 325. We are very small, manageable elementary school, and I love it. I love it. Like I said, I've been in several schools, elementary, middle, charter. And so this has been the smallest, most nice community type. Actually, my first year as principal, I had a nice small school too as well. And so having been in middle school, you appreciate the smallest. And I know if you've been in high school, you can't even imagine.
I know, right?
300 maybe in a class. I don't know. But it's very manageable. And I love the community feel. We're right in the middle of a community.
That's awesome.
I love it. Yes, and I love it.
That's awesome. So do y'all start with pre-K through fifth, or is it kindergarten through fifth?
We start with pre-K 4 and we go through fifth grade. That's correct. We still have a few schools in our school district with sixth graders in elementary, but we're phasing out of that.
Sure.
But my school has been fifth grade now for quite a while, probably 5-6 years. We've just gone up to fifth grade.
That's awesome. So did you always, you say you've been in this 30 years, which is super hard to believe considering how young you look.
Oh my goodness.
But that's amazing. 30 plus years, and 100% we thank you for your service. But what made you get into K-12 education in the first place?
My fourth grade teacher, Miss Mullet, Cash Elementary, Kernersville, North Carolina.
Wow.
Every opportunity I get to say thank you to her in public, I do that as well. She was an amazing fourth grade teacher. I am from North Carolina originally, and I was bused to this out of city. It's, we have county school and city school. I lived in the city, and we were bused. My little community was bused to Kernersville, which is another neighboring city.
Okay.
And which is where it was a predominantly white area, and I lived in a predominantly black area. And so it was not always easy, Dr. Williams. And so this fourth grade teacher, white teacher, she actually had a girl who was also fourth grade at the time that I was, and we were very good friends.
That's good.
And when I tell you, she made me feel so comfortable. I would go to her parties, her birthday party, just doing things just normal, as normal kids should do.
Absolutely.
And I can remember the exact time and day we were sitting on the carpet. She was reading The Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. And she was making the sounds as she was reading. Peter is one of the main characters in Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing. And she would just make these sounds as she read. And I just remember sitting there gazing at her and saying, I'm going to be a fourth grade teacher. I clearly remember that.
You remember the moment?
I remember the moment that I said that, and I held on to that. So much so I did my student teaching in fourth grade. My first teaching opportunity was fourth grade. And so it really makes a difference. And I tell my teachers that now, you would not believe the impact you truly have on those young students. You would not believe, because not all the time are you able to hear back. You know what I mean? You just have to know that the impact is there.
That's true. That's so true. So you're from North Carolina. Did you start your teaching career in North Carolina?
I did. Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. That's where
okay.
I started my teaching career. Yes, absolutely. I did my student teaching in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, because I went to Salem State University.
All right, HBCU in the house.
That's right. Yes. And so I loved Charlotte so much. I love Charlotte was and still is my favorite city.
Awesome.
And so I really had intentions of going to school in Charlotte. And so, and I'm gonna tell you, as a high school student, which is why now as an elementary principal, I give the exposure to careers and colleges now, because it just, even though education was very pivotal in my household, we just didn't talk a lot about college, you know, and going. And so I really had no real knowledge of what an HBCU was, sororities. I just had no idea about any of that.
Okay.
And so my intent was to honestly go to UNC Charlotte, University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Okay.
That was my goal. And number one, it wasn't the school, it was the city. I just wanted to go. I just wanted to go to Charlotte. You know, Winston is about an hour and a half, so that's like the big city, right? Yep. And so it was maybe my junior year, and I was like, you know, like, how much money do I have? Talking to my parents, and they looked at me like, there is no money, right? No. And so, and I was truly in disbelief. I was like, oh my God, I don't have any money to go to school, you know? And so that's when I realized that I had to be an advocate for myself. And so I was working in high school. And so I continued to work. I stayed home. I lived at home, went to the college in my hometown, and worked my way through college. And so, yeah, but the first opportunity, as soon as I graduated, I was headed to Charlotte.
Got back to Charlotte. You made it.
I made it to Charlotte. Exactly. So that was my first teaching. Yes. Eastover Elementary, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools. Yes.
Awesome. So you started your career in North Carolina. How did you end up in Maryland?
Funny story, actually. So I spent maybe almost 3 years in Charlotte, and I realized that there was something more to the world than North Carolina. And so I had a line sister who had moved to Maryland, the Prince George's County area. She had moved with her best friend from high school. They stayed in a 3-bedroom apartment, and it was 2 of them. And we were talking one day, and I was like, you know, I really want to relocate. She was like, come to Maryland. She said, we have an extra bedroom. She said, you can come, find a job once you get here. That's all I needed to hear. I resigned from Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and I headed to Maryland. And I have been here
ever since.
40 plus years, yes.
Wow.
And by the way, she's in Texas now, so she left me, but that's how I got here.
So you 2 things. You said line sister. What sorority you repping?
Yes, Delta Sigma Theta sorority, Spring 90 Gamma Phi, Winston-Salem State University.
Okay, we got a Delta in the house. Delta till the day you die, right?
Yes.
Okay. And so you said you went to Maryland. So what school district did you work in Maryland?
So Prince George's County. This is the only school district that I worked in Maryland.
Wow. Okay. PG in the house.
Prince George's County. Yes.
That's awesome.
Only school district in Maryland.
That's very cool. Yes. So I just wanted to loop around. I know at the beginning of our interview, you had mentioned that you, for 3 or 4 years, actually supported principals, and now you went back into the. I'm always fascinated about people that move to the district level, and for whatever reason, they end up coming back to the schools. And I can see myself truly probably doing something like that one day, because I love being a principal. But what were your reasons for moving back from the district?
So actually, yes. And I've actually worked in the district office 3 separate times.
Oh, okay.
3 or 4. I started out before I was a principal in the central office. After my assistant principalship, I worked in the testing office. I developed our quarterly assessments. And then I was in what we call regions. Some people have areas, regions, clusters. At the time, we were regions. So I worked in one of our regions office as an instructional specialist. I worked with principals. And so when I left, left and came back to the principalship, I actually helped start our assistant principal induction program.
Okay.
And that was based off my research for my dissertation. My dissertation was around principal preparation and leadership development, which is I'm extremely passionate about even to today. So I basically created this program based on my findings from my research. And I was into it for 5 years. And so I decided to actually start my own academy for assistant principals across the nation.
Okay.
I got so many inboxes. How can I be a part of this? I'm like, it's just for my school district, because I would, promote it. I would do all these things, and I would get messages from assistant principals from across the nation. And I did. I decided to start my own academy, Aspiring Principal Leadership Academy. It's called APLA. And I was tapped on the shoulder and told that I could not do that.
Oh, wow.
And basically everything that I had created for the district now belonged to the district.
Wow.
And so it was not mine. And so at that point, 5 years in, I decided that I would go back to the schoolhouse where I would not be working with new principals and new assistant principals. So there would be no conflict.
Yeah.
And I could still lead my school.
Sure.
But I can still work with assistant principals across the nation.
That's awesome.
And so, that's what I started to do. That's the edupreneur in me.
Okay.
I am an educator, but I am a diehard entrepreneur.
Awesome.
And so that's really what prompted that move. Is I had started that APLA and I wanted to continue. Absolutely. And right now we have a close to 92% success rate as far as them being promoted to principals or other central office positions.
That's amazing.
Across the United States.
So is it an ongoing program, or do you do it from the start of the school year to the end of the school year?
Yes, it's a 10-month program. Yes.
Okay.
10 months, cool. And it's always been virtual. And so I really take the time. I take no more than 15. Okay. Because so many different standards, not everyone is under the same standards, such as PSEL 2015. There are states that have their own standards. And so I really take the time to learn those standards from those states, get people in there each month that they can really benefit from. We go through whether it's climate and culture, whether it's parent engagement, regardless of the topic of something that educational leaders need. Because as we know that educational leadership is only second to teaching as far as academic achievement in students. And so it is imperative that we prepare our leaders.
No, that's really important. That's awesome though. So you have a cohort basically of 15 aspiring principals.
More than 15, yes.
Okay, that's good. That's really good. So you already got your 15 for this year, huh?
I do.
That's awesome. Very good. All right. Well, we'll definitely, if you want, we can definitely put that information in the show notes so that,
awesome.
Future leaders, future aspiring principals can reach out to you for sure.
Awesome. Thank you.
That's good. So what else though? I mean, you said you're an education edupreneur. So what else you have going on in your work?
Absolutely. And so it's so awesome. I am an author. I'm a publisher. I'm the CEO of Perfect Time SHP Book Publishing. Okay. So my focus now has gone off of me writing books because I don't have time, but now I publish others who want to write. Okay. We also have the Vision and Purpose Lifestyle magazine, which I'm the editor-in-chief. Okay. That's a bi-monthly print and digital publication. Awesome. So that's very exciting. That's really where a lot of my time goes outside of education. Is the magazine. So I love that. And I also have SHP Media and Broadcasting, where I produce shows and different podcasts and such like that. Yeah. That's awesome. What kind of shows and podcasts are you producing? That's pretty cool. Oh my good. So I have a book series called Women Who Lead. And so from there, we have created 4 podcasts from the Women Who Lead of 4 of those. We have Women Who Lead in Business, Women Who Lead in Real Estate, Women Who Lead in Education, of course, and Women Who Lead in Finance. And so we have about 12 now book series for the Women Who Lead, but those 4 are the ones that we've created a podcast for. I'm also on Coffee and Conversations with the What Now movement and WNM Ventures. And this is also a consulting that I'm a part of, consulting group that I'm a part of.
Okay.
So we meet, we have a podcast every first Saturday
Okay.
of the month as well. So many leadership matters. I think we talked a little bit about that. And so the I Am Dr. Sharon Show started out as a virtual platform. We moved to the studio, and from that birth, Write the Book Now, Book Talk, which is all about authors, It's All Business, which is about business, and Let's Talk Politics.
Wow.
So now all of those shows are virtual, and I produce all of those.
Wow. You're a busy person for sure.
Yes.
How do you do it all? How do you balance?
And that is a valid question. And I tell everyone that it's truly about respecting boundaries. Educators, we are servant leaders. We know that, right? But you have to be able to understand the boundaries.
Yeah.
And I understand that extremely well.
Okay.
And I'll have to go back to my legal office in my school district, because once I decided to become an entrepreneur, I sat down with my legal office to share everything. And this was back in 2017.
Okay.
Just to share what I wanted to do, because we have a very strict, conflict of interest policy in our school district that we have to sign each year. So I wanted to be very clear on the things that I was doing. And so one of the things that at the time they told me, which I already knew, but for some reason it stuck, and it was like a sting. She said, well, everything sounds good. She said, I just want to remind you that when you're at school, everything, of course, you're not doing any of your business at school. You're keeping those things separate. And of course you knew that, right? But then I thought about that. That works two ways. That works two ways. Once I leave.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm working on my stuff.
That's right.
And it does, and I think we as educators have a hard time because we're the ones working through the weekend. We're the ones working through the night with school stuff. In 2017, I decided I was not going to do that. That's not going to make me any less of an educator. That's 100%. Not going to make me any less of an educator or leader. I'm going to respect the boundaries because it goes both ways.
Oh, that's so
And
powerful.
so I've had no problem since 2017 doing what I needed to do.
And focusing on you and your time.
And my businesses. That's correct.
That is so awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it resonated with me, so I know it resonated with others.
That's how it did with me too.
Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes.
So, you've made it very, very clear that this has always been your passion, to be a K12 educator, but it's clear that you're more than just an educator. Like, you have other interests. Like you said, you're talking about women in finance, women in real estate. You're doing all kind of things. Like, what would you say to people that are listening and watching you right now about just being willing to expand their horizons as it relates to what they do in terms of a profession and who they are as a human being?
Exactly. One of the things that I talk to my clients that are seeking to become edupreneurs is you cannot get stuck on your day job. I just believe that. And again, I keep things separate, like you will never find me talking about anything that I do during my time at school.
Same with me. Yep.
Never, ever. So I don't want people to be stuck there because you are more than that title.
Yes.
You can give more than just that community or that organization. You have to put self first.
Sure.
And one thing that I know for sure is that there are so many people lined up to do your job. Even though, really, if I go today or tomorrow, there will be someone acting in my position until the board is able to approve them.
Yep. Before they even eulogize you.
Yes, absolutely. And you have to know that.
Sure.
So you cannot make your job your end all and your everything. It's up there. We love it. As educators, we're doing it because we're passionate about it. But you got to find out what else ignites you.
Absolutely.
What else motivates? You can have more than one igniter.
Sure. For sure. You're right.
You can. Absolutely. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise, because that's what tried to happen to me. They tried to do that to me. And I was determined I was not going to allow it. There are options. I have options.
Absolutely.
And so you just have to know that and be able to reflect and find out what's best for you. Now, if you're good just doing what you're doing, then you go do you.
Sure.
But if you have a passion to do something else, find out what that is and go do it.
So powerful. I don't know if you've ever heard of the famous motivational speaker and author, James Altucher. He wrote a book called Choose Yourself. Mm-hmm. And it's a very powerful book. And as I'm just sitting here listening to you, and it just made me think about that, because it's clear that you saw areas that needed to be addressed, whether it was through your podcast or through your magazine or any other ventures that you have, and you chose yourself. You're like, yep, I choose me. And I'm going to meet that need in whatever space that I need to meet that need. And it was the same thing for me with this show. It was like, I feel like the K-12 profession is the greatest profession in the world. We're the profession that makes all other professions possible. I don't care what a person is doing in their life. They can go back in their life. And I guarantee you, just like you shared so eloquently in your own life, where a teacher made the difference in their lives and impacted the route of their life. And so for me, it was like, how do I celebrate and acknowledge all the great K-12 leaders, educators, teachers, counselors, administrators, not only in the US, but the world, right? And so I chose myself, and that's why we have the My K12 Career Show. So,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, and I actually just interviewed a lady that's doing amazing things for the last 12 years in the Middle East. And it's just opened up so many doors in terms of just meeting phenomenal people like you, Dr. Porter. So awesome. I'm super grateful for that.
Thank you.
So, there's with the pandemic and everything that's gone on in our world the last 2.5 years, there's a lot of, they're calling it the Great Resignation, and so many people are leaving our amazing profession. I'm sure there's somebody that's watching you right now, that's hearing your passion, they're hearing my passion, but they're still thinking about quitting this profession. What words of wisdom would you give to those people that are out there?
Yeah, I would, it is so true that people don't lose or leave jobs. They leave people. I believe that wholeheartedly. And so what I would say, and it's the same thing that I say to my assistant principals who are always saying, I don't have that principal who really wants to show me, sometimes it's will or skill. Sometimes principals don't have the will. They don't want to do.
Sure.
Show, or sometimes they don't have the skill.
Very true.
And so I tell and it's the same thing with teachers who are burnt out or ready to go. Find your North Star. If it's really what you want, find a place, because there are some phenomenal leaders that I can just rattle off a few that you can just go and you would not believe the joy that you feel in doing what you have the passion to do.
Sure.
Because every leader is not the same. I'm just going to say that.
Sure.
And so just because you're miserable or not happy in your school, find a place, find a leader that you can grow under. That because the hallmark of a great leader is one who creates leaders, not followers. I believe that, right? And so whether that's leading outside of your classroom or leading within your classroom.
Yes.
You should be developing people. So if you are not being developed where you are, you're in the wrong place.
Love it. That is so true.
And that's why, because burnout is real. It's real. It's a real thing.
Yeah.
And I would just say, if you truly have the passion for it, because some people don't truly have the passion for it and they're leaving, but sometimes those are the ones that need to leave. Let's be honest.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I'm talking to the one that passion is teaching. That's the one that I'm talking about.
I get it.
You're in the wrong place. So just find that right place, and I guarantee your passion will be ignited again.
No, that's fair. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that you're right. People don't leave jobs, they leave people. So you got to find the right people.
Yep.
100%. So, I want to take the time at this moment, Dr. Porter, to acknowledge and thank you for all the great work that you've done in your 30 plus years of being a K12 educator, whether it's communities in North Carolina, communities in Maryland. We want to acknowledge you and all the great things that you have done to impact the lives of students in both of those states. And we really appreciate you because, again, like I said, I started this show to acknowledge and affirm and celebrate people like Dr. Sharon H. Porter. And so we acknowledge you and we thank you for all the great work you've done as a K12 educator for all these years.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So Dr. Porter, we want to thank you for coming on the My K12 Career Show to share your journey and all the great things that you have going on in your life and in your K12 career. But before you leave, would you please give our viewers and our listeners some parting words of wisdom? Tell us how we can connect with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Yes. First of all, you can contact me on all social media platforms at I am Dr. Sharon. That's IMDRSHARON. Also on LinkedIn. That's a wonderful place to connect. And my name on LinkedIn is Sharon Hargrove Porter.
Okay.
So definitely connect with me there. And my parting words would be simple, is that education truly is the key. And, you said it makes all other occupations possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate and support the educators in your network. Because if we all did that, what a mighty way it would be for educators across this great nation. Yeah. So support, and please, please, please lend a hand to a student, to a teacher, to a leader. Support education. That's my parting words.
Love it. Thank you so much, Dr. Sharon Porter, for coming on the My K12 Career Show. I know for a fact that I've gotten some great advice and, golden nuggets from your words of wisdom. And I have no doubt that there are viewers and listeners that did the same. So thank you so much. And we wish you all the best in this upcoming school year. Thank you.